The Gospel of Luke, chapter 22. Imagine the moment when everything seems to be falling apart around you. Your closest friends betray you. Your courage falters, and the weight of an uncertain future bears down on your shoulders. How do you respond in that moment? Do you give up? Or do you find the strength to keep moving forward? In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 22, we see Jesus face such a moment. This chapter is filled with profound lessons about love, sacrifice, betrayal, and the power of unwavering faith. Today we will explore these events together and uncover how they can inspire us to live with courage and grace, no matter what challenges we face. As we walk through this pivotal chapter, think about how these timeless truths apply to your own life. The plot to betray Jesus. The chapter begins with a conspiracy against Jesus. The religious leaders, threatened by his growing influence, plot to kill him. They find an ally in Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' own disciples, who agrees to betray him for money. This moment serves as a stark reminder of human weakness and how even those closest to us can let us down. But what stands out is Jesus' response. He doesn't retaliate or lose sight of his mission. He knows what's coming, yet he moves forward with grace. How do we handle betrayal? When someone we trust hurts us, is it easy for us to become bitter? But Jesus shows us another way. He continues to love and forgive. In our own lives, we must learn to let go of resentment and trust that even in the darkest moments, God's purpose will prevail. Forgiveness frees us from the chains of anger and allows us to move forward with peace. The Last Supper. The Passover meal, also known as the Last Supper, is a deeply symbolic event. Jesus gathers his disciples for one final meal, knowing his time is short. During the meal, he breaks bread and shares wine, instituting what we know now as communion. The bread represents his body, which will be broken for us, and the wine symbolizes his blood, shed for the forgiveness of sins. Now Jesus' words, "Do this in remembrance of me," are not just a ritual. They are an invitation to live a life of remembrance, gratitude, and service. The act of breaking bread reminds us that Jesus' sacrifice was the ultimate act of love. It's a call to community and humility. When we partake in communion, we are reminded of our connection to Christ and to one another. In our daily lives, we can live out the spirit of communion by serving others, sharing our blessings, and remembering the depth of love that Jesus has for us. Jesus predicts Peter's denial. So as the evening continues, Jesus predicts that Peter, one of his most devoted followers, will deny him 3 times before the rooster crows. Peter, full of confidence, insists that he would never do such a thing. But Jesus knows the truth. This moment speaks to the frailty of human promises and the ways we often fall short of our own expectations. Peter's eventual denial shows that even the most faithful among us can falter in times of fear. Have you ever failed at something you promised yourself you would never do? Maybe you let someone you know down. You care about them, but you let them down and you didn't live up to your own values. Peter's story reminds us that failure is part of being human, but it doesn't define us. Jesus doesn't condemn Peter. He knows that Peter's heart is still loyal, and he offers Peter redemption. In our own lives, we can be assured that God's grace is always available to us. no matter how many times we stumble. Jesus prays at the Garden of Gethsemane. So, one of the most intense moments of the chapter occurs when Jesus goes to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. He is filled with sorrow, knowing that his crucifixion is near. He prays, asking God, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." Now, in this moment, we see Jesus' humanity, his fear, his anguish, but we also see his unwavering commitment to God's will. Even when facing immense suffering, he chooses to surrender. So, there are times in our lives when we feel like we're facing trials that seem too great to bear. We may ask God to take away our pain, just as Jesus did. But Jesus' prayer teaches us the power of surrender. It's not about giving up. It's about trusting that God's plan is bigger than what we can see. When we let go of control and say, "Not my will, but yours be done," we open ourselves to God's peace, even in the midst of our greatest struggles. Jesus' arrest and Peter's denial. So the betrayal happens swiftly. Judas arrives with a crowd to arrest Jesus, identifying him with a kiss. In the chaos, Peter follows at a distance, fearful for his own life. And as the night wears on, Peter denies knowing Jesus 3 times, just as Jesus predicted. The weight of his denial hits him hard, and Peter weeps bitterly when he realizes what he's done. And, Peter's denial is a powerful reminder of how fear can lead us to act against our true selves. In moments of crisis, we might deny our values or our faith, but Peter's story doesn't end with this denial. Later, Jesus restores him, showing that even in our greatest failures, there is always hope for redemption. When we fall, we can return to God, knowing that his love is constant. Jesus before the council. After his arrest, Jesus is brought before the religious leaders who question him about his identity. They mock and accuse him, but Jesus remains calm and composed. He speaks the truth, declaring that he is the Son of God, even though he knows this will seal his fate. Now, his courage in the face of false accusations is a powerful example of standing firm in our faith, no matter the cost. And there will be times when our beliefs are challenged or ridiculed. In those moments, we can still find strength in Jesus' example. He didn't waver or compromise, and neither should we. Staying true to who we are and what we believe in, especially when it's difficult, is a testament to our character and our trust in God's greater plan. So, as we've gone through the Gospel of Luke, chapter 22, we realize it's not just a story about betrayal, denial, and suffering. It's a story about courage, grace, and unwavering love. Jesus faced the ultimate test, yet he remained steadfast in his mission, trusting God's plan even when it led him to the cross. As we reflect on this chapter, we are reminded that in our own lives, we too will face moments of betrayal, fear, and failure. But we can take heart in knowing that God's love for us never wavers. No matter how far we fall, his grace is always there to lift us up. So, as you go forward today, ask yourself, how can I respond with love when I'm betrayed? How can I surrender my will to God's greater purpose? And how can I stand firm in my faith, even when the world challenges me? These are the lessons of the Gospel of Luke, chapter 22. and they offer us a path to live with courage, grace, and unwavering trust in God's plan. Remember, it's not about avoiding hardships. It's about rising above them with strength that only comes from faith and letting these lessons guide us in every challenge we face. Trust that God is with you always. Thank you, friends. I'll be back tomorrow where we'll discuss the Gospel of Luke, chapter 23. I can't wait to see you. Take care.